So you hacked Google. I want to be as cool as you are. How long is it going to take me to be able to hack like really crazy places?
I've been doing this since I was 15, you know? You need to spend probably 200 hours learning about all of the different vulnerability types. That you fail and you fail and you fail and you continue to go, one of them is going to work. And the rush that you get, you're going to be hooked.
I want to make money, right? Should I quit my job immediately or should I do this part-time first?
Dude, please don't quit your job immediately. We generate credentials and we have the world's worst web application. All it does is just have a button that says delete account, right?
Dude, that was a great demo. I love that. Is this lab or does this actually happen in the real world?
I promise you, this happens in the real world.
Hey everyone, David Bombal back with a very special guest. Justin, great to have you on the show.
Thank you very much, man. Excited to be here.
So Justin, you're new to the show, so perhaps you can give us like a 60-second overview of who you are, what you do, and talk about this amazing demo that a bunch of demos that you're going to show us.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Justin Gardner. I'm a full-time bug bounty hunter, but on the side, I also do Critical Thinking Bug Bounty Podcast, which is a podcast on how to succeed in the bug bounty industry. And to be honest, we're focusing more as our target audience on intermediate to advanced level hackers rather than trying to focus on some of the beginner stuff. So this beginner stuff that I'm going to talk about today is a little bit out of my wheelhouse, but it went really well on the presentation just a moment ago.
So that's great. I mean, so we'll put links below the video for people to go and subscribe. So you're doing more of the advanced stuff because I get a lot of comments like, David, you're just doing the basics. So that's good to know.
Yeah, it's a fun niche, man. It definitely limits your size, right? Anytime we do beginner-oriented content, the videos just get so many more views, right? But it's a personal conviction, that I really want to be able to produce a piece of content that is for the intermediate to advanced web hacker community. We try to keep that as our North Star.
Tell me, if I want to get into bug bounty, just for everyone who's watching, there's a bunch of demos coming up. I'll put the timestamp here if you don't want to listen to us talk a bit and you just want to see the demos. But sorry, coming back to bug bounty, if I'm interested in bug bounty, is it worth it? Because I hear it's oversaturated. There's no opportunity. All the good guys are taking all the bounties. What's your take?
Yeah, well, certainly that is not true. I will say that there is I would have answered this question differently a couple months ago.
Okay.
Because of how AI has changed things. It is a lot easier for people who know what they're doing to do what they do at mass scale with AI now, because we've removed the friction of being able to code automation tools, right? And even the AI itself is getting pretty good at hacking if you inform it, on how to do it and direct it properly. So certainly it is a little different now. That being said, there is such a big opportunity in the bug bounty world still for people that are willing to fail, for people that are willing to show up and try 99 times and on the 100th have it work, right? But most people, they try 20 times and they're like, I don't know what I'm doing. I give up, right? They try 50 times and they're like, maybe I'm doing something wrong. I got to go back to research, right? Really, you need to keep pushing to that 100, 200 times, failing to get your exploit vector working. And then on one of these, it's going to pop. And when it does, it's going to click. And that's when you're going to get hooked into the bug bounty world.
You're in the US, right?
Yeah, that's right.
The reason I asked that is US isn't that cheap. I'm in UK, expensive.
Yeah.
Is there enough money to be made so I can survive or at least, make good money?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. You really have to be in the top, couple percent to make really good, IT salary money, in bug bounty. But don't let that deter you because really most people are quitting before they even get started.
Yeah.
And you can definitely make enough to survive. You can definitely make above, Silicon Valley tech salaries if you're very good and you keep pushing. But really, the main value of all this is the freedom. Because when you're a full-time bug bounty hunter, you can work whenever, wherever, for however long you want. You have no boss, you have no sales, you have no marketing, you have no accounting, nothing. All you do, it's the most streamlined thing in the world for hackers, man. It's the best. Because all you do is you look at a site, they point you to a website to hack, you hack it, send in a report, and money gets deposited into your account. It's magic.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I see some really cool demos here. So what is it, like 4 or 5 demos that we can hopefully cover?
Yeah, exactly. And so the concept here, these demos, this is for the talk I just gave at Zero Trust World with ThreatLocker.
Yeah.
And the prompt here is, how do we get started in web hacking, which is a lot of bug bounty, right? So I identified 4 vulnerabilities that I can show you without even really needing to use anything besides your browser, okay? The first one is IDOR. This stands for Insecure Direct Object Reference. And man, this is such a fun vulnerability because it's literally just as simple as iterating a number, right? And it can result in a vulnerability. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. And also, these labs are live at ztw.ctvb.show. They're up. You can still go play with them when this airs. Okay, so we go ahead and start the IDOR lab, and you'll end up in this environment here, right? The example here is that you're user with ID 3, and you request information for user ID 1, okay? So let's go take a look at that. If we click to the lab tab and we open the lab, generate credentials, now we're looking at Diana Miller's account, okay? We can see that we're ID number 4 up here in the URL. We change that to 5, and look at that. We're looking at somebody else's private information for Eve Smith.
So I got to ask you though, I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Sure.
Is this lab or does this actually happen in the real world?
I promise you this happens in the real world. I have gotten a bounty from Google, from Uber, from Meta, from all of these companies with a vuln this simple, okay? You just got to find the right part of the scope.
Yeah.
And really that is a really key aspect of it, is finding the deep, configured parts of the application that not many people see.
Yeah.
And that's where you'll find this low-hanging fruit that's still out there. It exists. And I just want to add as well to this, like if we go to inspect here and if you go to the network tab and you refresh this, you'll see that actually the data for Eve Smith here is coming from this view user request right here. Okay. This API request that's in the back end. This is where the actual vulnerability lies, right? So if we grab this URL, we put this in our browser, we can see the information for Eve Smith, directly here in our browser. And you just iterate this number and you dump the whole database, right? It's beautiful.
2026, still happening.
Dude, it's still happening. I promise. People ask me all the time, is it still happening? It is still happening. I promise you guys that I have found this exact vulnerability with the ID in the URL within the past 3 weeks. Okay? Take my word for it.
But that's what I love about my job, right? I get to interview really cool people like yourself who are doing this. This is your job.
Yeah.
And it's great to hear that it's real because, you get all the comments on YouTube like, this is not real.
Yeah, man. The YouTube comments can be a toxic place sometimes, but it is as real as it can get, man. And I pay my bills with it.
I love that.
Yeah. All right, let's jump to the next one. Okay, so the next one is broken access controls. This is kind of a catch-all category that the bug bounty platforms use. But specifically what I wanted to talk to you about was client-side access controls, okay? So this is the scenario where you've got the browser telling you something is impossible.
Okay.
But when you ask the server directly, it lets you do it.
Yeah.
So let's take a look. So we'll open up the broken access controls lab. In this scenario, we have a read-only role in our application. We're not supposed to be able to modify anything.
Yeah.
But if we simply remove the disabled attribute from a button using DevTools, you can actually perform that action, right?
And again, this is real world.
This is real, man. I promise. This is real. And I will tell you, I'll be honest with you. Something this simple, happens rarely.
Yeah.
This where you're removing a disabled attribute. The concept of the browser telling you you're not allowed to do something, and then maybe you replay that HTTP request or something like that from an admin account and put in your session cookies, that happens all the freaking time. All the time. I've found one of these in the past week. Okay?
I love that.
So this is the disabled thing is something that...
It's like a demo.
It's a demo.
Yeah.
It's something to give you easy to understand and that you can do in your browser with just DevTools. But broken access controls, specifically client-side access controls, everywhere. Okay? So let's take a look.
Yep.
Lab, we hop in, we generate our credentials, and we can see we've got a read-only account, right? All the buttons are grayed out. However, we really want to delete, Q1 security audit results before our manager sees. So we click this, inspect element button. We click the delete button, and we notice that the disabled attribute is present, right? We simply double-click, remove the disabled attribute, and now delete is functional. We click that button, and this is where the real vulnerability is. You see that up at the top right-hand corner, note successfully deleted? That is where the vulnerability is. And I want to be really clear to the listeners here, okay? Going in and removing the disabled attribute in your own browser is not a vulnerability.
Yep.
It's only a vulnerability if it allows you to actually do the action that follows that, okay?
Yep.
I want to be very clear about that because people will go and try to report UI changes and you press Control-R and it's back again, Very important part of this. And if I could just humor me just a second, one of the things I like to tell, up-and-coming hackers is you got to get possessive about your browser, okay? When you're navigating these websites, they're suggesting how you use, the website. They're creating a UI for you and that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, browser is software on your computer. You can do whatever you want with that, right? So when I come to this website and I see this delete button grayed out, that pisses me off a little bit because I'm like, you can't tell me what's disabled in my own browser, right?
I love that.
So you just pop open the inspect panel and you fix it and you use your computer like you want to use your computer. And of course, only do this on websites where you're authorized to test because not everybody understands the nuance of all this. So we want to make sure we're testing responsibly.
I love that.
Yeah.
And again, it's real.
Yeah, it's real, man. I promise. I found a vulnerability very similar to this, right? Where we're not supposed to have access to perform an action. We remove that, client-side access control, send the request to the server, and you're able to do it.
Love it.
Find it all the time. So that's broken access controls. Let's jump over to XSS, right? A very famous vulnerability.
Yep.
What is XSS?
Go for it.
It's cross-site scripting, okay? And what that means is our input either originating from, a query parameter, from what we entered into the application, sometimes even a post message or something a little bit more complicated like that, is being embedded into the page, not as text, but as code.
Yep.
Okay? So let's go ahead and take a look. This requires a little bit of a knowledge of HTML in advance. If you don't know what that is, you might want to go take a look now. So let's jump into the lab. We hit Open Lab here.
Yep.
We log in and we're presented with this notes interface where we can search. Okay? We search for the text. David?
Yep.
No notes. Sorry, man.
That's okay. I'm used to being rejected. It's okay.
Exactly. That's one of the most important parts of being a hacker, right? Is getting comfortable with failure, because the best hackers in the world are going to fail 99 times out of 100.
Yep.
It's that one time that, you get land the vulnerability.
Very good. Good advice. Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, we can see that your name has been reflected back into the page here, right?
Yeah.
And we can see that that's also present up here in the queue query parameter.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to come up here and see if it's treating that input as text or whether it's treating it as code.
Okay.
So we put in the H1 tag. This will make the text big on the page, and voila.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's being rendered as code. We can validate that by opening the inspect element, clicking on David here, and we can see that it's actually rendering our H1 tag.
Yep.
So the result here is that we can run HTML code in the victim's browser, which we can then use to run JavaScript code and take over their whole session.
And again, real world.
Dude, as real as can be.
This happens all the time.
Yeah. I'll tell you.
Tell stories. I love
between
stories.
Me and you, man.
No one can hear what we're saying.
Found the crown jewel of my career, and as far as XSS goes recently, which is an XSS on www.google.com.
Okay.
And I found it. I used some AI stuff to help me understand how the code was structured and its nuances. And the moment I popped that and the XSS was in my browser, I was just elated, man. On www.google.com.
Wow.
One of the best moments of my career, man. XSS has a special spot in my heart because you are now running code in somebody else's website. And that is just very exciting, in my opinion.
Wow. Wow. No, that's brilliant.
Yeah. So XSS is a great one, and you can test for it largely by just spraying those payloads around, H1, those sort of things. Now, I know what you're going to ask me, David. Is this real? How often does this happen,
exactly.
Right? Stuff this simple, reflected XSS, as this is called, is more rare nowadays.
Yep.
There have been fixes made at the framework level to prevent this from happening.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it doesn't still exist. It's just more difficult to find in the bug bounty world, okay? And a lot of times, it requires more nuanced understanding of the code than just spraying, your H1 tag everywhere. But we still find it.
I love that. Again, I'm glad that you are giving us the real world bug bounty view of this, because it's one thing to see this in a lab and in a course, but to see it, have your input about what's actually happening out there is brilliant.
Yeah, thank you. And it's fun to go over these basic examples, but most of the time what I'm talking about on my podcast is the really complex stuff, like, we did a race condition on this post message, and then then it got embedded into the DOM, and we bypassed CSP to get XSS, right?
Sorry to interrupt. On your podcast, are you doing demos of this, or are you walking people through the code, or just talking about it?
We talk about the live vulnerabilities. We don't often share our screen and actually show the vulnerability on the vulnerable website, but we do talk about this is exactly how I found. I'm not going to tell you what target, but this is exactly the technical flow that we did to get the vulnerability. And that's a lot of fun because we talk to the guests about their favorite vulnerabilities as well. And we get a lot of beautiful vulnerabilities that come from, some of the most technical minds in the industry.
I love that.
All right. Last but not least, we'll see.
There's a secret one you're going to show us as well. Come on.
I'll show you the secret one.
I'm going to force you to do it.
All right. So second to last is the CSRF, okay? Yeah. This is Cross-Site Request Forgery. This is exactly what it sounds like, which is we are forging a request on behalf of the authenticated victim.
Yep.
Let's take a look. So if we jump into the lab here, we can see that we generate credentials and we have the world's worst web application. All it does is just have a button that says delete account, right? but you don't want to delete your account. You want to keep your account on this specific website, right? So we're logged in, maybe we're Bob Smith or whatever, right?
Yep.
If we press delete account without any prompt or anything like that,
account is deleted.
It deletes, right? There's no, are you sure you want to do that? Or we don't have to like specify any special token or anything. It just deletes our account.
Yep.
So an example of a CSRF vulnerability here is that, let's open up the Inspect Element tab and see exactly what's happening here. When we press the delete my account button, we see that the request is made to delete account right here.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And that's it. That's what deletes the account. So if we copy this, it's just a GET request. There's nothing special we have to do on it. If we copy that, we generate another set of credentials, and we simply navigate to that URL, right? Oof, we've deleted our account. So what that means is that if we have an authenticated session in our browser and we navigate to an attacker-controlled website, they can force us to delete our own account. And that's where the forgery comes in. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
And again, I got to ask you the question, real world or not?
Dude, it's real. It's real. Specifically, CSRF has gotten a little bit more difficult with the introduction of a technology called same-site cookies.
Yep.
It makes it a little bit more nuanced, but the GET-based CSRF is absolutely real and is often used for things like linking accounts. Sometimes you see stuff like deleting stuff like this, but typically it's more used in linking your account to a third party or something like that.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And hopefully we've got time for your hidden one.
I do. All right, let's go back to the hidden one. We can see it's classified, it's redacted. We don't have access to it. But what did we just talk about, David?
Yeah, exactly.
You got to get possessive over your web browser, okay?
I love it.
And so what I do is I open up the Inspect Element tab, and I can see this Start Lab button is grayed out. They can't tell me what to gray out in my own browser, right?
Yep.
So we go to disabled, we remove, and boom, now we've got the Start Lab button.
I like
Let's
this.
go. So we go in.
CTF, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right? We're in the challenge now. We've learned about all these vulnerability types, and it says, use what you've learned to find the password for user 100.
Yep.
Okay? All right. Well, we'll remember this URL, #final. We'll go back to the IDOR lab, where we can actually enumerate users, and we'll open the lab, and let's go ahead and try our exploit from before on user 100, right?
Yep.
Great. We got access to superadmin, but what's the password? We can't see it.
Yep.
We try to open Inspect Element, still can't see it. Man, what's going on here? Well, remember I told you that the API request is what's powering this, right?
Yep.
We send this request, and then it sends another request in the back end to go to the view user, right?
Yep.
API view user right here. So if we grab that request, we copy it, and we put it right here, we can see that the password is actually returned in plain text in the API.
Nice.
Right? And this one is, I will tell you, this is more contrived.
Yep.
I have seen it. I've seen it several times, actually. But this type of, returning the password is a little bit different than what you normally see. What you do see is fields, and I've reported this week, is fields that should not be displayed in the UI being returned in this API response. I'll explain. There's a profile, right, on a website that I was hacking recently. In the API response, it returned that person's age.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Oh, wow.
And it wasn't displaying that. And this was accessible for any user, right? And they had the date of birth, field zeroed out. It was returning null, but they returned the age. And I told them, it's interesting is you can monitor that for 365 days. And now their age, their birth date, right? Their year. And when it changes, the day. Right?
Yep.
So you just leaked their date of birth. So
well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
We'll go ahead and take that, and we'll go back over to the final. Let's go ahead and head back to the lab here. We can go back to our lab, and we'll paste in the password, and we're solved.
Dude, that was a great demo. I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, one of the things I really love about AI, sort of being integrated, is that I can write this up so much quicker now with the help of AI. You've got these situations in your head from years of pen tests, and you can make them into reality and training material for other users with AI-assisted coding. So,
okay, so on that concept of training, right?
Yeah.
I want to become like you.
Okay.
What do I do?
All right.
Apart
let's talk
from
about
like
that.
have years of experience, maybe.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you the main concept here, okay? You need to get a base level of understanding. You need to spend probably 200 hours learning about all of the different vulnerability types. And then you need, towards the end of that 200, maybe you got 50 left, you need to pick one that you think is the coolest, right? That wants to be your vulnerability.
Yeah.
Okay? I recommend IDOR for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And then you learn everything about that. Then, after you've reached that 200-hour mark, and this is very important, do not continue to learn. Do not get stuck in, freaking learner's purgatory.
Yeah.
Okay? You've got to go out and try to hack. In the first 100, 200 IDOR vulnerabilities that you attempt are going to fail. You're going to get a 403, you're going to get forbidden, you're going to get your site nuked, your account banned, all sorts of things. But after a certain amount of times that you fail and you fail and you fail and you continue to go, one of them is going to work. And the rush that you get, you're going to be hooked. And the next 100 is going to go double as fast. And the next 100 is going to go triple as fast. And then you're going to be finding vulns left and right.
Okay. What do I need to study? Are there books? Are there courses? Or the YouTube videos? What do you recommend?
Sure. So there's a couple resources. Full disclosure, I work for Kaido, which is a HTTP proxy company that you should be using to do your HTTP proxying, to inspect the HTTP requests that power these websites. We host labs at labs.kai.do, right, where you can do some basic labs that I've designed and implemented.
Brilliant.
The other resource is our competitor's product that I will tell you is amazing, which is PortSwigger's Academy.
Yeah.
Right? They have a lot of really, really high quality learning material there, and I still recommend it for anybody who's wanting to get into web hacking.
Yeah.
And the other piece of this is just go and read all of the disclosed bug bounty reports. People love doing write-ups. They love disclosing their reports on HackerOne.
Yeah.
There is a treasure trove of hackers succeeding and documenting it for you to learn from out there. And of course, nowadays, use AI to kind of be your learning companion to guide you and explain why things are important or not important.
You mentioned HackerOne.
Yes.
Is that who you recommend, or there are a few platforms?
I hack a lot on HackerOne, but BugCrowd, Integrity, Yes We Hack, they're all amazing. You can also hack directly with the companies. Google runs their own bug bounty program. Meta runs their own bug bounty program. Microsoft does as well. So what I always recommend to users is pick a site you're familiar with.
Yeah.
Pick an app that you use, that you're an actual user of, and try to hack that first. But make sure they have a VDP or a bug bounty program so you're not breaking any laws in your jurisdiction.
I mean, that's very, very good advice. Most people want to run before they can crawl.
Yeah.
So they want to hack right away.
Yeah.
I've heard some people recommend that you hack NASA or someone like that.
Yeah.
Who it's not paying, but you can use it to get experience. Do you recommend that?
Yeah. VDPs are a good place to start. I'm going to be honest with you, man. I'm a little bit more trial by fire sort of guy.
Yep.
Like, you need to get comfortable failing.
Yep.
And if you succeed too early, that could actually be a little bit detrimental to you,
okay.
right? Certainly if you want early success, if you think that's not going to ruin your ability to endure failure, then go hack on, the DoD VDP, right, for the United States, one of the most vulnerable targets out there. And that is a little bit softer. And also realize, the bug bounty world is not pen tests. Pen tests are going to be a lot softer than bug bounty. So, expect to go into it failing a lot and being comfortable with that.
So you hacked google.com. I want to be as cool as you are. How long is it going to take me to be able to hack really crazy places?
Oh my gosh, that's a crazy question. Thank you for your kind words. I will tell you, one of my mentees went from being a French major to being invited to these, worldwide competitions in about 2 years. This guy is very, very smart. His name is So Sakaguchi. Shout out to him. And he dedicated a lot of time and energy to it. But it's possible.
I want to make money, right? Should I quit my job immediately, or should I do this part-time first?
Dude, please don't quit your job immediately. I've seen some people do that, and I won't lie. Some people have done it successfully, but I definitely recommend a ramp. And we actually have a guide on how to do this in the Discord community that we run with the Critical Thinking Bug Bounty podcast.
Yep.
But first, what I recommend is make sure you're earning at least your full-time salary doing bug bounty part-time.
Yep.
Okay, so you got a couple years of hustle here. And then once you've, surpassed your full-time earnings with bug bounty part-time, you can be very confident that if you put your whole effort into it, you're going to be making a lot more.
Good advice. I think that's true for anything. Do it as a side hustle.
Yeah.
Get the money up.
Yeah.
Cover your full-time salary, and then it's time.
It's hard to hack from a place of stress too, man.
Yeah.
Like when you're stressed about finances and you're like, all right, I got to find a bug today. It's stressful. So you really got to do it from a place of financial security or have confidence in your track history,
Any final advice apart from take the pain of failing?
Yeah, I think really try to foster love for the game, right? Even if you're failing, you should be looking at these websites and being curious about how it works and being fascinated by it during this process. And when you are ready to quit, keep pushing through until you consider yourself to be the world expert on that application. Like every time I compete in these competitions, I'll be honest with you, I walk into these competitions and I say, this is the time. This time is the time where I have learned everything about this application. And there's nobody at this competition that can tell me anything about this application because I know it all. And every single time, somebody surprises me with something that I've missed. Right? I've been doing this for 15 years. I've been doing this since I was 15. And they still surprise me every time with something I don't know. So everybody's got their own set of eyes, and you've got to keep digging until you're the world expert on that app. And that's when you can say, okay, I've found what's been need to be found, and I can move along.
We're out of time. Justin, thanks so much. Really appreciated the demo.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Got to get you back.
Yep.